listening to Claim Your Territory, the weekly voice of the Old Capitol Storytelling Festival, telling stories of people making their place in the American West.
Welcome to Claim Your Territory. I'm Clive Romney, your host for this episode. Today, my guest is Sam Payne. Sam, thank you for being with us today.
It's a great pleasure. Thank you.
Sam, you are known as one of Utah's foremost storytellers and one of the nation's best storytellers. How did that all happen?
Well, it's a small voting pool, first of all. They're all friends of mine.
I don't believe that for a second.
I was a songwriter for a long time, primarily a songwriter, and found that my lyrics were just dense enough that I had to spend some time explaining to an audience, what they were going to hear, what they had just heard. And people began to kind of warm to those explanations, the stories behind the songs. Finally, somebody came along and said, that thing you do before the songs, that's actually a thing. And
storytelling.
That's right. Yeah, that's how it happened.
Yeah, I relate to that. So what do you enjoy most now about storytelling?
Well, it's always about, there's a wonderful thing certainly about communion with an audience, having an experience together that's going to enrich you both. It's a great pleasure to be kind of the instrument that sort of sets up in people's minds these stories that then prompts them to leave the tent or leave the theater or leave the house concert sharing stories with each other of their own. That's a wonderful thing to be a part of.
And you're going to be one of our featured storytellers on the Old Capitol Storytelling Festival.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that.
Tell me what kind of stories you plan to tell there.
Well, this is my family came here. We
When did that happen?
My mother's family would never have set foot in Utah, but that my mother married my father. But my father's family goes back generations and generations. 4 generations back, my great-great-great-grandfather was the mayor of Pleasant Grove and crossed the plains as a Mormon pioneer with the Vanguard Company. His name is on the plaque at the This Is the Place monument. So I come by my Utah citizenship honestly, I guess.
Okay, now I've heard you say something about Sevier County.
Yeah, my grandfather.
Tell me that little story and the quip that comes after it.
That's right. My grandfather, as a very young boy, together with his family, lived in the Mexican colonies, lived in Colonia de Blan. And he has stories of Pancho Villa riding through town and him observing, battles of those conflicts and seeing General Madera at the local general store, And there came a time, of course, when that community had to be evacuated. The people had to leave.
1912.
And of course he was on the train, as a very young boy. And the family came north to Sevier County, where they settled and where my grandfather lived all of his young life, married a young girl there.
Which community?
He lived in Richfield. And, he was born in Annabella.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but as a young man, lived in a number of places, actually, in Sevier County. But finally, when his wife passed away, she had a heart condition when he married her, and they spent every great hour together that they could, and then she passed away, and he struck out for California. Didn't come back to Utah to live till very late in his life, but always thought of himself as a Utah boy. In fact, his name was Leland Payne, and to the end of his days, he referred to himself as a severe Payne.
That's the quip I was hoping you'd share with us.
Having come from Sevier County. Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of passing away, you told me about an experience that you just recently had with, was it your grandfather who was passing
my
away?
mother's father. I have always looked on the exercise of writing songs and telling stories not as an exercise in delivering information, or sharing with an audience things that but as a process of working those things out for
Catharsis.
yourself. Yeah, getting through stuff, figuring out what you believe and what you think about things. And not too long ago, I was on stage sharing stories about my family. In fact, it was at a big Lehigh City event. Lehigh City does a big family week every year, and I had been invited to be kind of one of their keynote speakers, and I was telling stories about my old Greek grandfather, my mother's father, who was kind of a hard old guy, World War II vet, lived a remarkable life, and was living in Pleasanton, California on his own terms as a 95-year-old guy. I got home from telling stories about my grandfather to find an email from my stepdad indicating that he had passed away. Again, my granddad was kind of a hard old guy, but we got to know each other and got to know each other's hearts, I think, through the giving of gifts. We exchanged books and pieces of music that we loved. He was a musician, kind of first and foremost, and I had been asked to perform something at his funeral service. And in preparing for that, I thought, what on earth am I going to perform at my granddad's funeral service? And I found the very last letter he'd written to me. And that letter was a letter of thanks. It was a thank you letter for a Christmas gift, the gift of a book. I had sent him a book that he was looking forward to reading. In fact, the letter that he wrote me was only a little bit about me and mostly about how he was glad to have a book in line to read that he was looking forward to read because he hated the book he was currently reading, which had been a gift from, a friend or colleague, but he had to finish it because he knew he was going to meet the guy again and he was going to have to report on the book. And so it was, so I began to write a song about that letter, kind of with that letter as sort of the seeds of the song, and I'll play a little bit of it for you.
Please.
Son, I got the book you sent today. I hate the one I'm reading now. Some guy who must not know the way said I'd love it, and he was wrong. But your book, much like the Rock of Ages, I'll hang on and look forward to. A brand new suit all made of pages, and I can't wait to try it on. And every lovely word you treasure, and melody that you remember, flies with you as you go, go, go. How I hope, hope, hope that it's so, so, so. Well, that's just a verse and a chorus of that song from my granddad. You get down into it, and there are things I wish my granddad could see about that song. He and I both loved the Pirates of Penzance, and there's part of the melody of the beautiful lament sung by Frederick and Mabel as a melodic figure in my song, and there's a real desire to kind of say, look, Grandpa, look what I included in the song as a gift for you,
So was your grandfather Frederick?
And was I Mabel then? Is that what you're saying? No, my granddad was a horn player. He was a trumpet player. And yeah. In fact, we would watch movies together. And he would behave during movies just like he behaved while he was watching ball games, which is that he'd practice the trumpet. While the
I thought you meant he'd yell at the ump.
Right. Yeah. So all of the movies that I watched as a kid were underscored by my grandpa's trumpet playing.
Oh, marvelous. Was he a dance band kind of guy?
He was everything. He just, anytime anybody needed a trumpet, he was your man.
Oh, man. So now he's playing taps for somebody else.
He sure is, yeah.
Thank you. See you next time. Join us.
Subscribe to our podcast at oldcapitalstoryfest.com. That's capital CAPITOL. Visit our website to dive deeper into our weekly stories and to find other folks who love history, heritage, and modern pioneering. And join us next week to hear another story.
They live on with every newfound friend. I'm still here where stories never end.